Okay, everybody. Sorry I'm late. I was trying to get with my co-host here, who's conveniently left. So if she shows back up, well, I'll show you. You know, she'll get up here and announce herself. So, hi everybody. It's Tuesday. It's Brian, BreakSec Education. Good bit of news here. Actually, some really promising discussions that have come out today in the news. But how's everybody doing? Just want to see how everybody's doing. There have been some fires up in the Northern California area east of San Francisco. If you are in that area, hope you stay safe. You know who you are, and hoping everything is fine. The folks of Tracy, California, is not doing so hot. And it is fire season, so very much like we have hurricane season for the southeast and east parts of the country, and we have fire season starts usually around May 1st here in the western United States. So I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that I don't have to deal with any of that in the coming months. It will hit us at some point here in San Diego, but for the most part, the last 4 or 5 years, the weather's a bit wet here. Hey, Walt. Is it really? I've been there for 10 years. I do remember it being somewhat soaking, in the springtime at least. But yeah, 98065. Yeah, let me go see what's looking. Oh yeah, okay. It's raining in Snoqualmie. Yeah. Oh, okay. Where I used to live in a town called Snoqualmie Ridge. You can go look it up where, Oh, but hey, y'all are looking, wow, y'all are shaping up to be a nice week though. I mean, look at that. Wednesday is going to be 19 or, 66 degrees Celsius for the non-metric or, Celsius folk out there. It's going to be, mid 70s. Looks like this weekend is going to be lovely up there. So hope you get a chance to enjoy that, Walt. So very cool. Yeah. Hope y'all had a chance to take a listen to the conversation we had with Tanya. I think we got some good feedback on that. Thank you for the feedback, Walt, as well. For that, I did pass that along to Tanya. On and off rain. Yeah, it looks like you're not going to get a ton of rain. At least, well, the microclimates being what they are. I was used to them living in San Diego, but up in Seattle, it's very much microclimate where, the official temperature and rain gauge was at the airport, which is in a completely different geographical area than the foothills of the Cascades, where, you're up at 850 feet of elevation versus 0 elevation. And they're like, we didn't get any snow today. I'm like, bitch, the 2 foot that I just shoveled off my driveway is not nothing. So every time you, especially here in San Diego, they have coastal, inland, mountains, desert, and we're not coastal, but we're not inland either. Inland would be like coastal would be like La Jolla, and then for those of you who know what San Diego, the areas of San Diego, and you can look them up on a map. We have La Jolla, which would be considered coastal, or and then where the 15 is what's considered inland, but we're kind of stuck in the middle of that. So if it's 72 on the coast and 77 inland, our temperature is going to be in the 73, 74 range or something like that. So I'm used to the various microclimates, and San Diego is very, does that as well. I don't think they did as well in Seattle, but yeah. Anyway, that's the Weather Geek showing again. So I would go to the weather people. There were other websites you could go to for weather models and things like that. And every time, snow would come up in the forecast or rain would come up in the forecast, I would hit like Ventusky or someplace like that would give me different model runs based on, European models or, North American models or, the no gaps model for the Navy or what have you to see, what's the the variation here. Some models would say, oh, you're not going to get any snow at all. And some would be like, 2 foot of snow. And it's like, okay, I can understand they're trying to blend that kind of thing to get an ensemble or something like that. So, some are better at predicting those things than others. But anyway, I can tell everybody's falling asleep now. So, yeah. So, I'm also, we started this last week with Tanya, but If you've noticed, there's a bit more, I don't know, real estate on the screen. I have decided to upgrade my streaming bandwidth to 2K, so we're at 1440p on the stream right now. So if it's not 4K, but it's 2K. So 4K would be, I think, a bridge too far for me, but yeah. So this is actually a really good website if you are interested in understanding weather or different ensembles for these things. So I've mentioned it a few times before on when I was streaming, I think even in Seattle. So, but it'll tell you, current temperatures. It shows you your wind, ISO heights and ISO bars, wind streamlines, etc. Because this is all mountains here, so they're having to funnel through the mountains. But you can see it's fairly warm here in the Southern California area. Here's the Salton Sea down here. It looks like a penis, but that's not really. It's the Salton Sea. And of course, I live down here in San Diego, so see where we live in the area here. And there's different maps and everything. But yeah, based on your models here, you can look at different regional models to figure out what the weather's going to look like in a few days. So, but it's really nice, and it's global, so you can use it anywhere in the world. That has a model that covers your area, and you can, the different cameras are nice and stuff. So anyway, boring. I see I lost a viewer, or they're lurking. So a lot of good things have happened today. And some stuff happened over the weekend. But the biggest thing that I saw was this. Bleeping Computer is reporting that finally, as of June 4th, 2024, the NTLM authentication protocol is deprecated officially after, I don't know, 20 plus years of its being, 20, we're using NTLM and what? Windows NT, I think? When did NTLM get introduced? NTLM introduced in Windows. Okay, NT4. Oh wow, Service Pack 4. Wow, that was a seminal release of NT. For those of you who are watching it of a certain age, you remember Windows NT because it was super solid, no USB support. If you wanted USB support, you had to install Windows 98, or you had to install Vista, or God help you, Windows ME. And so the NTLM v2. Actually, V2 was okay. So NTLM is actually further back, so it's part of the original Microsoft authentication suite. V1, V2 came out with NT Service Pack 4, so yeah, that was huge. Way back in the day, natively supported in 2000. Okay, so you either used NT or 2000 or XP. 2000 was the nicer version of Windows NT. Give it a second, folks. That would be an F-35 out of Miramar Air Station, or Miramar Marine Corps Air Station. Hang on a second. They like to fly around during the day. That is really loud. Man, one second. There we go. They like to fly around a little bit in the afternoon, so apologies for that. I'll probably edit the VOD or something to remove all of that. But yeah, so NTLM has been around for a while, especially in Windows. It's very much legacy, and it was very much good for its time, right? But like most things in Windows, it became ubiquitous, right? And backwards compatibility is not something that Microsoft wants to break, because They have a number of different operating systems, platforms, OS versions. So, you know, if everybody's running Windows 10 or Windows 11, hopefully Windows 11 by this time, and you killed NTLM when somebody was using large amounts of Windows Server 2013 or something like that, and or you know there was you still needed it for backwards compatibility, you'd break that, and there may have been no good way of addressing that issue. So they just announced it, as far as I can tell, that they've deprecated the NTLM authentication on Windows and Windows servers, stating that developers should transition to Kerberos or negotiation authentication to prevent problems in the future. That's great. It's amazing that they have decided to do that. I'm hoping that that means in the next iteration of Windows that NTLM and V2 will not be possible to use in the future. So one second here. Sorry, I'm just looking at some work stuff. So yeah, oh yeah, so so NTLM goes back even further, 1993. So this was even before I was using, I started using, so in 1993, I was in 8th grade, yeah. And I was in, yeah, I was there. So it's been around a little bit. NT 3.1, so that was even before, you know, a lot of operating systems. Hopefully nobody's running NT 3.1 ever, or 4.0, but yeah, so they say they're still widely used, but they're no longer active development, so they're basically KTLO, right? Keep the lights on. They're not making any major changes to it, and adding no new features. Is considered a mature product, and now it's just sunsetting, right? Say the move isn't surprising. Microsoft announced its intention to kill off the aging protocol in 2023, urging admins to move to Kerberos and other contemporary authentication measure systems like Negotiate. I don't know what Negotiate is. Let's go see what that is. Microsoft Negotiate. So Negotiate is a security support provider that acts like an application layer between SSPI, or Service Support Provider Interface, and other SSPs. When an application calls into the SSPI to sign in a network, it can specify an SSP to process the request. Currently, Negotiate security package selects between Kerberos and NTLM. Okay, so you can go to Negotiate, and right now it will support both Kerberos and NTLM. Obviously, NTLM for older Windows versions, backward compatibility, etc., etc., etc. But once they get NTLM off of the plate of this, you pretty much, your choice is to use Negotiate, which uses Kerberos, or use Kerberos, which uses Kerberos. My guess is Negotiate is for there's specific use cases where Kerberos isn't probably a good thing, and so you want to make sure that you're using those. So they've given people and companies enough time to migrate and plan their transition periods off of NTLM if they're still using it. There may still be older systems on networks, ICS networks, etc., that are using older versions of Windows. That are going to need to, and what I'm hoping is older meaning made this century, right? You know, in the year 2000, so at least you're running at a minimum XP or 7, so that you can turn off NTLM and V2 and use Kerberos if you need to. I think XP has Kerberos, and so does 7. Obviously, it's not ideal to keep those systems online, but you may have software that only runs on those older versions of that. So yeah, server that doesn't support Negotiate can't always respond to requests from clients that specify Negotiate as the SSP. Okay, so reasons to use the Negotiate package allows the system to use the most secure available protocol, which in this case would be either Kerberos or NTLM, and idea would default to Kerberos because that's the more secure right? As we've seen, Kerberos is not immune to ticket generating tickets, I think is what, TGTs, golden tickets, silver tickets, those kinds of attacks. And with the end of NTLM, assuming that will go away as full support or no longer being used. I mean, that doesn't mean a company can't continue to use it. It's just they're going to have to keep that legacy stuff around until they can upgrade to a more viable system. But yeah, so here's the history. So this was a good article that I found about. It has some nice data flow diagrams on NTLM and Kerberos. And they're talking about, so Kerberos was released more than 20 years ago. Kerberos is also, I believe, on Linux as well. They do have a Kerberos kind of authentication system as well. I think Samba uses Kerberos. I believe they're more compatible with each other than they used to be. It was like Linux had their own implementation of Kerberos and Windows had their own, and Microsoft had their own implementations of Kerberos. They didn't always play nice together. Like, you had to use certain encryption algorithms that were compatible with one another. So if you were using something out in left field on Windows, it wouldn't work necessarily with Linux. But I think they've gotten better as things have come on. So you can use Kerberos in all your favorite Red Hat Linuxes, and security and integrity within a system, and it allows for integration. Passwords are never sent over the network. There's a mechanism that allows users and machines to identify themselves. Uses symmetric key cryptography. So you've got all kinds of stuff here. So TGTs from the KDC. So that's Kerberos Domain Controller. No, Key Distribution Center. My bad. So here's some more fancy diagrams on Kerberos. So a lot of people already understand Kerberos, but it's just good to have that, because I can imagine if your management is concerned about what this means, you're gonna have to help them understand, hey, we still have half a dozen old systems that are legacy. They're using NTLM. What will this impact by NTLM going away? And there's a couple articles. Oh, nope, that's later. Let me see. Where is it? There we go. So NTLM has been around for a while. So there's obviously news stories about forced, different attacks that can be done to steal tokens. I've been to a couple CTFs where it was like you dump the SAM, which is the hash tables for your NTLM, and you can tell if somebody has less than 8-character password, because there were 2 8-character values, and if this was all zeros, and that means you really only had like an 8-character password. So there's a ton of stuff here, but things like pass the hash or other attacks are going to be less useful. I don't want to say they're going to go away, but they'll be less useful in the new paradigm once NTLM goes away. And so let's see, pass the hash. So you got Beyond Trust talking about pass hash technique, where attackers capture password hash and then passes it through for authentication and lateral access to other management systems. Pass the hash occurs on Linux, Unix, and other platforms, most prevalent on Windows systems, because pass the hash exploits single sign-on through NTLM. Ding, 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 ding. But pass the hash will still work with Kerberos and other authentication protocols. So it will be less useful because now you won't have to worry about your NTLM hashes. But then you'll still have to deal with it with Kerberos, but there's ways to harden that as well. So least privilege security model, password management solutions, rotating your passwords if you need to, separation of privileges. There's all kinds of solutions on thwarting pass the hash attacks. Also getting rid of passwords altogether and engaging. This may be a good time for your organizations to go in and go, maybe we should invest in some technology that will, remove the ability to put passwords in. If YubiKeys are getting cheaper, depending on the size of your company, but those can be fairly useful for things like passwords or verifying who you are, where you are. I think Yubico will allow a YubiKey to be used for passwords for Windows login. Yeah, so I mean, could be as easy as Yubico login for Windows 10 and 11. So if you're at least up to Windows 10, and they may actually have it for like Windows 8 or what have you. The unfortunate thing, it doesn't work for newer Windows machines that run on ARM. So the new Snapdragon Surfaces or what have you can't use the YubiKey system right now. Now they probably could use it if you wanted to treat it like a dumb token. So like if you had a really long password on your YubiKey, you could still plug it in and use that like a keyboard, if you will, like a short tap or long tap to give your passwords. Not ideal, but it is an option if you're using the latest and greatest Snapdragon stuff. But yeah, you can register YubiKey using Entra if you're heavy Azure users, and go that route as well. And that gives you additional logging capabilities, verification and what have you. I mean, somebody physically has to have a YubiKey to get in, and then and it kind of works across all platforms. So if you've got somebody with a Windows box and a Mac box and what have you, so YubiKey also, I've used them on Macs quite often. So anywho, where is it? Close that down. So yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. They relays, yes. Domain controllers taken over by forcing them to authenticate against malicious servers, right? So Windows domain takeovers. So yeah, I mean, these are specific NTLM type hacks. You'll still need to be on your game, or your IT folks will still need to be on their game when you're dealing with Kerberos, but it's one less thing that you'll have to I posted up into my work Slack about this. Killing it in 2023. I'm sure they wanted to kill it in 2003. But we were all still on XP at that time. Here we go. So yeah, relay attacks, yeah, I mean, it's just a great thing that they're going to get rid of it. I know that there's going to be specific kinds of resistance. Maybe you've got some legacy stuff that won't necessarily that breaks, but your teams probably already know about all the legacy stuff and what those kinds of things will cause. So hopefully you've already kept track of all the legacy stuff in your organization and are able to enumerate those things, and this is going to potentially help move that along by getting rid of those legacy applications or legacy protocols, or force the upgrade to using Kerberos or negotiate for Microsoft for that. And it's a security win for everybody. So yeah, there we go. So I heard about this Hugging Face thing, and I was a little confused about it. I was reading a lot about it over the weekend. There's actually another thing that came up about Snowflake and somebody named Hudson Rock, which is Hudson Rock is not a Flintstones character; it's a person. But so Hugging Face informed customers Friday afternoon, weird, that maybe somebody had unauthorized access to their platform. And if you don't know what Hugging Face is, apparently it makes it easier for users to create and share machine learning applications and demos with others. I could definitely see that being something that would be important if you had a company and you were kind of using that as a platform to demo your ML with other folks. They said a subset of Space's secrets. That's a lot of S's there, so I was trying to make sure I got it right. It said, according to the company, the unauthorized access to the Space's platform may have exposed. Okay, so their PR folks are, you know, trying to backpedal as much as they can here on this, trying to downplay it as much as they can. Subset of Space's secrets is, you know, I would not be surprised if they come out in a couple of days and go, oh, we got all of our secrets, you know, taken out. So they said, out of, you know, abundance of caution, refresh any key or token and consider switching your Hugging Face tokens to fine-grained access, which is the new default. So sounds like some of the tokens they had were, you know, one token, 100 of people were, you know, had access to it, or was everything's running in as one user or one role or something like that. Because we recommend you refresh any key or token and consider switching your tokens to fine-grained access controls, which are so they didn't have fine-grained access. They didn't, you know, least privilege, or I don't use Hugging Face, so I don't know what that looks like, but it sounds like they could have one token and 100 people have access to that token, or you could share that token with other folks and then they could just come in and do whatever. Sounds like now it's like, oh, we need to have access controls in place that are a little more stringent than what we had currently, which sounded a lot like nothing or very few. I'd imagine in a machine learning, blue sky ideas, we're here to collaborate, we're going to do a bunch of stuff, da 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 da. It's like go fast, make mistakes, you know, like most DevOps things, right? We fail forward. So in this case, they're failing really forward here. So they said the company's called in forensic experts to assist with the investigations, notified law enforcement, data protection authorities. Over the past few days, we've made significant improvements to the security of the Space's infrastructure. So they are now making security upgrades when they got busted, including completely removing org tokens. Okay, so yeah, it does sound like they had, you know, breaksec ML organization token. Here's one token for 100 people, right? So they're removing the org tokens. So increased traceability and audit capabilities. So we'll be able to see who actually, you know, logged in, manipulated the machine learning, you know, did what they needed to do, implementing key management service, KMS, for Space's secrets. So KMS, you know, robust, what is it? Robustifying? That's a word. That's a word. And expanding our system's capability to identify leaked tokens and proactively invalidate them, and more generally improving our security across the board. Okay, so they kept moving until they got hit, and now they're having to take a step back. They're going to spend a little bit of that angel money to, you know. Hey, Mika. Sorry, I saw the connection over here. Never heard of NTLM before. Maybe shows its age. Well, I think a lot of organizations are still using it. They're using it for authentication, right? Authentication. When you logged into old Windows boxes, that's what you use to authenticate, you know, when you logged in, right? Your username and password. So NTLM. So you would, you know, here's your client, here's your server. In this case, it would be Active Directory server when you used to have, you know, in the days before the cloud existed. Hardenifying, exactly, Mika. So yeah, you would, you know, log in, your Active Directory server would be there. You'd log into a specific domain. You'd send the username, you'd get a challenge back, and then, you know, you would, you know, send your password, right? So you'd have an LM hash as your password, and then it would authenticate based on whatever the password hash was and let you in. So it was the authentication and authorization functions in Windows for a lot of that. Fine-grained tokens sound like they had all permissions tokens. Right, Mika, you're, you know, 100% what I was thinking too. It's like, yeah, we have one token for everybody in the company, and we're not really worried about the security of a ton of stuff like that. ML demos on Hugging. So Walt says ML demos on Hugging Face often use serialization. It is possible to create serialized images that cause security issues when deserialized. Most Java deserialization packages have security vulnerabilities. And just, yes, some Python packages have issues as well. Yeah, yeah. The press release, when you read it, feels like, yeah, we had, you know, we didn't have a lot of security because we didn't, you know, first to market kind of stuff. I mean, it is what it is. And I don't know how you'd want to sell that to companies. It's like, use at your own risk. Well, right now the risk is completely, you know, like we're jumping out of a plane with no parachute kind of shit, right? And, you know, because we want, you know, if, or what would be the more apt analogy? It'd be like, I'm jumping out of a plane with somebody else's parachute, and I don't know if it's actually going to open when I do this. So it's high risk, high reward, right? If they get it right, they make millions and billions of dollars. But if they don't get it right, you know, they're going to get bought by some company because they may have something that they can sell for a couple $100 million. We also plan on deprecating classic read and write tokens in the near future as soon as fine-grained access tokens reach feature parity. Okay, so right now they have basically their password sharing across the entire org, right? And we have lots of endpoints that use NTLM. I don't know if this is really NTLM or Kerberos under the covers. Yeah. You may still be using NTLM in some places, Walt. I don't know. You know, I'm hoping that if you're using something at least, you know, made in this last 10 years, like Windows 8, or if you still got some Windows 7 stuff, you may have an older version of Server 2013? No, 2012. I think 2012 just went into life. So now you have Server 2018 R2, and I think there's 2019 and 2022, something like that. So some of the older Microsoft Server builds may still be using NTLM, at least V2. I know, yeah, NTLM V1, I don't know. But it sounds like they had one token for one org. You know, it feels like they were able to, the unauthorized access may be because somebody created an account on the system and found some way to escalate privilege to gain access to either the bare metal or the back end of it, which allowed them to, I mean, there's any number of ways this would go, but you know, the way that they're now having access controls in place, it feels like either somebody was able to enumerate tokens or they got access to a token, expanding our ability to identify leaked tokens. Okay, so they're trying to find out, they're expanding the ability to identify leaked tokens. So that would be, you know, maybe they noticed somebody was logging in from some country where that company has no assets. So if you're a US-based company and all of a sudden somebody from Brazil is logging in, you're like, oh, I didn't know we hired somebody from Brazil. Nope, we don't have anybody in Brazil. What the fuck? So could be something like that. And proactively invalidate them. Okay. Well, I mean, Hugging Face is having a fun week figuring out how to secure their shit. There may be hiring opportunities there if they find out that, you know, that now they need a proper security team. Late 2023, AI startup discovered more than 1,600 Hugging Face API tokens exposed in code repos. Okay, so there's the other thing. You've got all these companies using Hugging Face, and you've got developers sharing tokens inside of code repos on like GitHub or something like that. So So December 5th, AI startup security startup Lasso discovered 1,600 Hugging Face tokens exposed in code repos, providing access to hundreds of organizations' accounts. All right, so yeah, you've got one code to rule them all, or you've got one code for one organization. Everybody in the organization is using it, and some developer decides to make a commit to their code repo, a public code repo potentially with, hey, here's here's a bunch of code, here's our cool shit. Oh yeah, here's our Hugging Face token. And so, good Lord. Okay. Yeah, so they probably used, Truffle Hog or something like that to scan GitHub. 1,681 leaked valid tokens across both platforms. So they also didn't have a way to easily, invalidating those tokens, because if you invalidate the org's token, the one token they probably have, you broke the org, right? They can't get back in. So now they're having to easily identify those orgs. So these tokens provided access to 723 organizations' accounts. Large organizations such as Google, Meta, Microsoft, VMware, and others. The "and others" is scary, right? I mean, it's big enough, all of your mangoes are in here, and VMware, so, Of these accounts, 655 user tokens were found to have write permissions, 77 of them to various organizations, granting full control to the repos of several prominent companies. Oh, God. With a control over an organization boasting millions of downloads, we now possess the capability to manipulate existing models, turning them into malicious entities. Okay, so now you've spent all this time and money building up an ML model or something for a demo. Somebody's got your token. They're going in, they're futzing around with your ML models and corrupting the models. So, you got your baby sitting in Hugging Face, and somebody asks it a question, and all of a sudden now it's spouting, anti-Semitic stuff or racist stuff or telling you to go fuck yourself or something. That could be It could be problematic, So, yeah. Lasso informed the affected users and organizations of its findings that many of them took immediate action, revoking the tokens and removing public access token codes. Hugging Face was also informed of the findings. Well, okay. My guess is that okay, I'm not gonna make that leap. They notified them in this is from December, and it's now June. So hopefully they're a little faster than that, but it could be that during the investigation, they found perhaps some unauthorized access was taking place, which does not shock me at all. If you put your public-facing, code with tokens in them, people's going to compromise your shit. So there's going to be some companies getting emails talking about resetting your tokens or refreshing your tokens today. So if you got one of those emails, go do the needful and go shut that shit off. So, yeah, Truffle Hog or something like that, or you get RCE in your ML server. That gives them access to all kinds of shit on the back end. So, not sure if that gives them RCE or it might give them the ability to shell out or to do naughty things with your servers or the resources they've been given. So, good times. That's unfortunate. It's good to run things like Truffle Hog or secret finders in your code repos to find that stuff before it actually gets committed, right? But maybe a lot of these companies didn't do that. Maybe they were thinking everything was fine. Maybe a developer accidentally uploaded to their private repos instead of their work repos. That happens more often than not, I've been told by somebody's that I know. So yeah. So they're gonna add, all the stuff they should have put in at the beginning. They thought maybe they would be a bit immune to that. So yeah, there you go. Secret sprawl haunts site. Yeah, it is a software supply chain issue. It's major unattended weak link in software supply chain. So yeah, there's a lot of stories on Security Week about those kinds of things. But yeah, it's always a good thing to look in your repos, look for secrets, look for hashes, look for secrets. You know, something that doesn't look right, especially in public repos. It's always a good idea to go and poke around on that. So, excuse me. Hey Mika, thank you for joining us and on the talk with Tanya. What was your thoughts about the discussion that occurred there? I always enjoy having Tanya on the show. I think she does a great job, great interview, really highly talented person. I was glad we could get her on to talk about that. What was your thoughts, Walt? Same for you. What were your thoughts about having Tanya on? What did you learn in that case? So for folks, let me go grab the VOD for that, because I'd like to make sure that people see that. Ah, GoPro is on. Okay, very cool. Oh, there I am. Sorry. You can see I am in 1440p down here, so I am at 1440p 60. So for those of you, okay, give me my damned. Oh, well that's cool. Yeah, so this is the VOD. If you subscribe to our Twitch, you can catch the VOD over there on Twitch. Let me put the link in our chat here, so you get a chance to go and listen to that. Otherwise, you can go to our YouTube channel, which you're on, Mika. And yeah, there's that. That's not it. Oh yeah, it's under live, and yeah, you can go grab. I had to grab a screenshot of us talking for the preview, so you can go and grab that on our YouTube, which will be on forever. It's also 1440p. It's actually quite stable for that, so you can tell a difference of that. So yeah, it was always a good discussion. So met her before. Oh yeah, she was at B-Side Seattle last year. She keynoted B-Side Seattle, and yeah, so always a good discussion with her. Go check that out. Really happy about SimGrep Academy. Get free AppSec training there if you want to. And yeah, so let's see. Is that? Oh no, that's not it. That's not it. Okay. Sorry, it's not anything bad. I have a Roll20 account, and they picked up Demiplane, which is a streamlined character builder for Roll20. So my other side project is some solo RP stuff that I was planning on trying to use Roll20 for in the next system. So, did I put that in the chat window? No, maybe just in case people want more, ammo for their arguments at work about why API tokens are bad. You can talk about 1,600 leaked API tokens to hundreds of organizations. And I think the important thing is to know y'all shouldn't feel bad if your organizations have that, because you're in the same realm as folks like Google and Meta and Microsoft and Yahoo. I don't know. They mentioned they mentioned a couple of big company, all the mangoes, right? All the mangoes, Meta, Apple, those things. If you are using Hugging Face in any way, shape, or form, you've probably had your credentials leaked at some point. So, okay, cool. So yeah, the other thing was this Hudson Rock person. There's a company called Snowflake. And I saw this on Twitter, and it was, of course, Twitter being Twitter and InfoSec Twitter. People were like, "Oh, I don't think this is actually what you said is Hudson Rock. You probably should remove that." And there was a bunch of people. I think this person Hudson was doubling down on the fact of Snowflake having something there. So Hudson Rock, not a Flintstone character, a real person, citing legal pressure from Snowflake. And what Snowflake for me is, they say that it is, it's an analytics giant, and Hudson is asserting that Snowflake was breached. Hudson having information pertaining to the breach. Snowflake says, yeah, nah, we don't, we haven't been breached. You probably take that down until you have more, information. The reg does say that Ticketmaster and Santander, which is a bank, fairly well-known European bank, had information stolen. They don't know exactly how, but they said both are Snowflake customers, so it's an analytic kind of shop. A Ticketmaster rep repeatedly told TechCrunch its pilfered data was hosted by Snowflake. So Snowflake said if any customer data was taken, it may have been obtained by thieves who got a hold of individual customer account credentials. So they're trying to say that, Snowflake wasn't owned. It was like, have I been pwned, right? Somebody had a, God mode. They got their account popped on have I been pwned, maybe through password reuse or something like that. I'm not saying have I been pwned was involved, but they're trying to say it's individual customer account credentials. So the admin of, one of the admins of Ticketmaster, or one of the admins of Santander was popped, and that's how their data was lost. So Snowflake believes a limited number of as yet unnamed customers may in reality have had their data accessed using purloined account credentials where the accounts didn't have 2FA enabled. So Snowflake does have 2FA, which is great to hear. They have it as an option. They don't force it, which is not a good thing. But I don't want to say they're trying to blame the victims here, but they are kind of. Snowflake should force 2FA, especially if it's a big company or big organization. A lot of problems with that, though. You can't always just put 2FA, especially if you're a third party dealing with these things. So the cloud biz denied its underlying security was breached and leaned on Hudson Rock to pull its report. Okay, so Hudson Rock apparently is an organization, not a person. It's like Jethro Tull. Jethro Tull's not a member of the band. But so Snowflake leaned on Hudson to pull its report, suggesting as much. In accordance to a letter we received from Snowflake's legal counsel, so basically their legal counsel said, you're damaging our reputation by suggesting that we've been hacked when you don't really have any 100% proof. And they've decided to take down all content related to the report. So if you have the report, I'm not saying you should share it with me, but we have a Discord, and a DM wouldn't go amiss. Might be nice to see what that report looked like. Let me see. Maybe somebody did Hudson Rock report Snowflake. So here's another story from June 4th, which is today. Snowflake said a limited number of its customers have been singled out as part of a targeted campaign. We've not identified evidence suggesting this activity was caused by a vulnerability, misconfiguration, or breach of Snowflake's platform. We have not identified evidence suggesting this activity was caused by compromised credentials of current or former Snowflake personnel. So they contacted Mandiant. I'm sure it's sophisticated. Wait. Let me see. Come on now. Oh, damn. Wait a minute. Oh, damn. An article with Mandiant in it, and sophisticated is not being used anywhere. I'm very sad. It makes me sad. It further said the activity is directed against users with single factor, or with the unidentified threat actors leveraging credentials previously purchased or obtained through information stealing malware. Okay, so yeah. Snowflake is urging organizations to enable MFA and limit network traffic only from trusted locations, which makes sense. CISA issued an alert on Monday recommending organizations follow the guidance outlined by Snowflake to hunt for signs of unusual activity MSEC. How you doing? It's the sound of freedom. You know, it's an F-35, so it is what it is. Welcome, MSEC. Glad you could be here. So yeah, some of the indicators include malicious connections originating from clients identifying themselves as, you know, words that I'm not going to repeat here. The development comes days after the company acknowledged it had observed a spike in malicious activity, so they do have monitoring, which is great to hear. Report from cybersecurity firm Hudson Rock. So it's not a person, not like Jethro, you know, it's not like, you know, it's Jethro Tull. So it's the band name, not a person in the band. Previously implied the breach of Ticketmaster may have stemmed from threat actors using Snowflake's employees' stolen credentials and has since been taken down. Oh, dang it. Okay, well. What? Snowflake, I do hope that while you're trying to shush a very trusted source and fair actor, Hudson Rock, you're also working on integrating their security solutions. So I think I saw the report here, and that's where it got taken down. So who has the true Snowflake or the threat actor? Snowflake seems to say the victim's fault per statement that contradicts itself in the talking points. And the Hudson article was stating the threat actor did harvest creds and they validated which creds were used. Yeah, they're probably going to mention they can't require users to use MFA, pinging 23andMe. Yeah, it's easier said than done implementing MFA for an organization because it has to be usually per user, because I've seen several organizations where, you know, you had 1 or 2 logins and you have 20 or 30 people looking. And mostly I've seen it with like PR companies or marketing firms that are trying to, you know, make things happen where, you know, multiple people have to interact with the same data. So having 2FA, you have the same code being shared across like 20 or 30 different, you know, phones or what have you, doesn't make for a good experience, especially if you need to hire people. I mean, you'd have to get on a Zoom call and hold like a QR code up to be able to get, hey buddy. You have to get up and, you know, share those QR codes properly. We have an air show over my house in a couple of months. We'll have the same issue. Yeah, Miramar Air Show. Miramar Air Show is in like September, I think. Yeah, the Miramar Air Show is going to be god-awful. We think it's bad today. It's going to be one of those things. Okay, yeah. Last year was September 20 through 24th, 2023. I don't remember it being that noisy, but it was cloudy that day, so they had the low ceiling one. But that's very unfortunate. It's valuable for users to have a variety of information when trying to determine their own risk and mitigation steps. Unless the vendor in question is largely transparent and forthcoming, users often aren't getting the full picture from one source alone. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. So it may be that they have to change how they're doing business, kind of like Hugging Face, where it's like, okay, we're not just going to allow one login for multiple people. It's going to have to be per, and you're going to have to, you know, change how your data is set up for your metrics and everything. Especially for metrics, it's like the whole way you administer the site is going to be different. So like for Ticketmaster, for instance, you're almost going to have like independent instances of those things instead of, you know, 1 or 2 people having access to those things. So, yeah. Shiny Hunters, what's this called? It's not known how the 2 companies, both Snowflake had theirs. The Shiny Hunters, their persona who claimed responsibility for the breaches on the now resurrected breach forums, told databreaches.net that Hudson Rock's explanation was incorrect and it's disinformation. Info stealers are a significant problem. It's long since outpaced botnets in the real world. The only solution is robust MFA. Kevin Beaumont said. I think that's Gossie the dog. Yeah. So I actually read this. This was the blog post I was reading from Gossie about the issue. Yeah, so having a bad month, teenager threat actors and cybersecurity of its own customers, several data breaches playing out in media security. For example, Ticketmaster filed an 8K. So the 8K is the new SEC requirement saying, you know, if you've been breached or had, you know, cybersecurity incident, you know, potentially the largest data breach ever, 560 million customers. Wow, 500, yeah, Live Nation, 560 million. So that's twice the population of the United States. No, not twice. Like 125% the population of the entire United States. It's a global thing, right? And they fingered, yeah, Snowflake. Let's see, they issued an advisory, yes. Let's see, indicators of compromise. Is that the report? Let's see. Oh, they use Salesforce. Oh, good. Fucking Salesforce. You could tell by the little blue cloud and shit. So, oh, here's your IP addresses. Investigating activity from the following IP addresses at this time. So there's a ton of IP addresses from all over the world. 198 keeps showing up. 194. Here's a bunch from 194. What do I think, like Eastern European countries? What do I think that? IP address range 194. Yeah, it's a Class C address. Let's see, speed guide. Anyway, I'll put this up if anybody wants to, you know, go and poke around. Maybe they found this in some other threat lists as well. You know, here's some good threat list information. I didn't need a login to get into this, but so they have a ton of IP addresses though. So, wow, connections from client identifying itself as dbeaver Ultimate and running from Windows Server 2022. Wow, it's using a server OS for that. That's interesting. That's interesting. Oh yeah, so here's a query. So you get your, you can take a look for your queries. You can pull that, you know, SQL query down. If you're, I'm assuming you're going to use that from, you know, you can change your from to anything else, but if you have a threat intel feed or something like that, you can go and look and see if there's been any activity on your own. So you could collaborate or corroborate the threat IPs there. So. Well, that's unfortunate. Let's see if Hudson Rock had anything else on LinkedIn to talk about with that. Let's see, anybody else say anything else either? Most recent. Snowflake. Yeah, there's a lot of folks on there. So, security images for casual readers. Read Gossie's blog. Yep. Needless to say, new capabilities will exist in every InfoSealer family. I'm sure we don't know the full extent of the problem. So, yeah. Oh, wow. That's crazy. Yeah. Anyway, so depending on who you talk to, you're going to see all kinds of weird shit going on the next few days. I'm assuming we won't see the last of this or hear the last of this. And so if you your company uses Snowflake, you might want to take a look and, you know, reset all your passwords and set up your 2FAs if you haven't. CISO Brad Jones in a statement said crooks did steal Snowflake workers' credentials, but did not use them to access sensitive information such as customer data in the cloud. Instead, those creds got the intruder or intruders into worthless demo accounts, we're told. Man, I really hope he's not lying here. He wouldn't be the first CISO that's had to say things that wasn't necessarily untrue. He probably wishes the falser part were truer, and, you know, it's not untrue, that kind of thing. I'm reminded of Rock of Ages, Paul Giamatti's character, who's just slimy motherfucker. He's like, I wished it was not true. I wish the truer parts were falser. I don't know, man. That sounds not good, right? Yes, they had our employee accounts, but they didn't use them. I don't know. We already looked at that. Let's see, 560 million. So Gassi said he'd spoken to a number of people in multiple industries where they'd had significant data exfiltration in May via Snowflake. So take it as a grain of salt. You've got one blogger saying, you know, he's talked to people. He obviously can't name his sources. The CISO of Snowflake saying, yes, employee credentials were taken, but they weren't used for anything, just demo accounts. And then you got Snowflake and their legal team leaning on Hudson Rock to not have that report out. Somebody's got that report, though, because I'm sure they saved it just as soon as they saw it because they wanted to use it in their after-action reports, or they wanted to use it to see what was going on there. But if anybody has that, like I said, DMs exist on Discord for a reason, so I will not name you if I happen to get a hold of that. So yeah, there you go. So they say, so to add to the story, they're now saying what updated Ticketmaster, 1.3 terabytes of data on 560 million of the corporation's customers, and it's being sold for $500,000. I thought I saw something from Have I Been Pwned as well. They had been, Have I Been Pwned, breach information. That's, oh, that's it, yes. Apparently, Have I Been Pwned got a hold of 361 million email addresses have been added because of a Telegram breach, or somebody got a hold of them through combo lists. Now, not a fan of combo lists. They've been used by people to spread FUD, to, oh, really, you were in that MSEC? I'm sorry. Sorry to hear that. Change your password, right? I have a Telegram account. I probably should figure out if I need to change mine too, but I don't use Telegram for anything other than an organization that I'm a member of, so I don't use Telegram in that way. I barely use Signal, so yeah. 151 million haven't been previously seen in Have I Been Pwned. Okay, so 151 million new email addresses. I won't say that they're not real. I'm just saying it's not hard to create email addresses that might look legit. I have told some folks who have submitted things to me in other organizations that, yeah, you sent me 13,000 email addresses, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're valid. And checking them is a pain in the ass. They had old details. Of course, yeah. And yeah, I mean, this is like, hey, we found, this could have been collated, could have been created, it could have been, generated in some way. So are you going to verify 151 million accounts? You can, but to what end? It's just easier to say, okay, everybody's going to change their passwords. Some of the files contain email address password combinations, while others list URLs containing credentials, usually in the form of online service, domain, login, checkout, confirm, password reset, email address, passwords. So there you go. I think, so this is where I think the help net security goes off the rails for me. They suggest you go and find out if your accounts have been compromised. You can go to Have I Been Pwned and put your, put your email address in. I mean, you can do that if you'd like, but if you're fairly confident that we're using Telegram and your account got owned, just change your password. You don't have to go to Have I Been Pwned and deal with all of that jibba jabba. You can just get your password changed. Also, they're right. Review your OAuth apps. Make sure that you untether ones you don't recognize, or maybe you haven't used it in a while. So maybe it's good to just untether those anyway. It's not hard to retether them back if you find, hey, I use this service twice a year. It's spring, so do some spring cleaning, right? Change your passwords, close out some accounts. If you haven't, been on a forum in 15 years, maybe it's time to clean out that one password, I've looked at mine and I've got like, over 250 credentials in there. Some of them are for jobs that I haven't been to in a decade. So it's like, maybe I can get rid of those safely. Yeah. So, and like they said, enable 2FA when you can. Check your sent folder and email forwarding rules for possible indicators of the account has been misused. Oh, I guess that would make sense. If they've owned up your email accounts, the first thing they're going to do is set up some kind of forwarding so that you never see the email saying, hey, we've got a password reset or what have you. So go check your email forwarding rules on Exchange or Outlook or Gmail or whatever your favorite email system is. So that way you can keep track of those, that system. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, 361 million accounts. It means there's at least 361 million email addresses. That's impressive. I mean, I have 5 at least by myself that I use regularly. So it's not hard to believe. Some of those are probably burners. If you're using Telegram and they make you sign up, you would want to set up a burner email address. So yeah, Snowflake, stealing data, CSRB report. Ah, okay, wow. So we're right into it. So this is a news story about a report that was written by U.S. The Cyber Safety Review Board. They spent 7 months. I didn't actually mean to click on this, but it's in gossip. It's like, wow, we're like levels upon levels upon levels. So they were lambasted pretty badly by this review board about preventable cyber attacks, because last year, Storm 0558, I don't know what Microsoft is calling them. They have some kind of like tempest flood or whatever the hell they call them. They got into, it's linked to China's top intelligence agency, the Ministry of State Security, able to access more than 500 individual email boxes belonging to 22 organizations by obtaining a signing key. The CSRB described the key as the cryptographic equivalent of crown jewels for any cloud service provider. So good times there. I have 14 accounts for Bloomberg. Why? Is it so you can get around like the paywall stuff? I can imagine needing like that many accounts if you're trying to get around the news paywall thing. You have so many free articles every month that you can use. So, Bloomberg free account 1 at gmail.com, Bloomberg free account 2 at gmail.com, et cetera, et cetera. So I actually have that report right here, which you can go and read as well. I actually didn't, and you can tell I believe they use SharePoint here. CISA is using SharePoint of some kind because it says sites default files 24-04. So it sounds like very much like SharePoint, ironically enough. I rotate every 90 days for the cheap account, $2 versus $35. Okay. So here's the CISA report that comments on that. You can take a look. Well, okay, so that would be helpful if everything was on the screen. So, so they start out here saying, it's not an exaggeration to say cloud computing is becoming an indispensable resource to this nation and indeed much of the world. Weird. Cloud creates enormous efficiencies and benefits, but precisely because of its ubiquity, now a high-value target for a broad range of adversaries. That is also correct. When a hacking group associated with the government of the People's Republic of China, known as Storm 0558, compromised Microsoft's cloud environment, it struck the espionage equivalent of gold. Threat actors accessed the official email accounts of many of the most senior U.S. government officials managing our country's relationship with the PRC. So they completed their 3rd review since the board's establishment in 2022. gratified more broadly to observe the track record of cooperation that CSRB has developed with the industry, security researchers, academics, and foreign government agencies. So they're working with DHS, Homeland Security, and Jen Easterly, director of CISA, for their belief in support of this board. So the executive summary is harsh. I mean, it is a kick in the pants here. So where is it? I think, where was it I read? So the executive summary, they're giving you a little background, it was Storm 558. It's not the first time they've displayed interest in compromising cloud providers or stealing auth credentials or what have you. They also were involved in Operation Aurora, so Google. So that was a huge thing back in 2009. 2011 RSA, right? And so they're an old threat, an old team of people or an old group that's been working for 20 years. The board finds that this intrusion was preventable and should never have occurred. The board also concludes that Microsoft's security culture was inadequate and requires an overhaul, particularly in light of the company's centrality in the technology ecosystem and the level of trust customers place in the company to protect their data and operations. The board reaches these conclusions based on the cascade of Microsoft's avoidable errors that allowed this intrusion to succeed, Microsoft's failure to detect the compromise of its cryptographic crown jewels on its own instead of relying on a customer to reach out to identify anomalies the customer had observed. I mean, this is scathing. And it's ironic. So when did this get published? Summer 2023. Okay, so November 2023 is when they said the company provided extensive oral and written submissions since 2023. And then, so when was that? Microsoft tying security to bonuses. So this came out in May. Microsoft under attack from government and tech rivals after preventable hack ties executive pay to cyber threats. So they said, where was it? Microsoft and damage control. Where was it? Yes, the decision by Microsoft to link executive compensation to successful cybersecurity performance is prompting discussion at other firms. So what they're saying is that they have security goals they've now put into place because of this scathing report. And because of it, they are, it almost feels like Microsoft when they put out XP Service Pack 2, and they, it was like a huge change in their security posture to the point where I think that Service Pack 2 for Windows XP was like, at the time, Bill Gates said, no more features, we're just going to work on security. And they were like, yeah, we're not going to push anything else out. So they said it's more common for corporations to tie a percentage of annual executive to various goals, but it feels like now it's like they have these 10 things and you're shit out of luck if your group or your division or your business line or your business division or whatever the hell they call themselves, lines of business, whatever, is not making the grade. And so, yeah, that this was an ugly report here. Microsoft's failure to detect a compromise of an employee's laptop from a recently acquired company prior to allowing it to connect to Microsoft's corporate network in 2021. Microsoft's decision not to correct in a timely manner its inaccurate public statements about this incident, including a corporate statement from Microsoft believed it had determined the likely root cause of the intrusion when in fact it still had not. Even though Microsoft acknowledged to the board in November 2023 that its September 6, 2023 blog post about the root cause was inaccurate, it did not update that post until 12 March of 2024. As the board was concluding its review and only after the board's repeated questioning about Microsoft's plans to issue a correction. Ow! I mean, that is ugly. So, yeah. Yeah. So because of this report and subsequent discussions from them, now there's a lot of people who are sweating whether or not they're going to have security tied to their pay. So some firms will make the case that cybersecurity is already ingrained in their culture. Sure. I mean, the PR and marketing people tell everybody when they get breached that security and privacy is important to their company, usually after the breach. So making executive compensation contingent to some degree on meeting security aims is a good place to start instilling a security culture at the top of the corporate hierarchy that is fundamental to success. So yeah, they're definitely making those changes. So that's kind of cool. We'll get to see what happens with that. Yeah. So anybody, has anybody been involved in a breach at all? I mean, I don't want to say, knock wood. I've never actually been involved in a large-scale breach. I haven't worked at an org. There was a couple of orgs that it was like I've worked at or worked with that I was like, yeah, y'all are, you work with companies, you work with clients in an engagement format or what have you, and you're like, you're one good password, have I been pwned away from, completely being owned up. Did anybody have any stories or experiences with that? Because, it scares the shit out of me. I mean, I couldn't imagine. Does that lead to employees not reporting issues when tying to pay? Maybe not at the scale of Microsoft, as most issues would be loud or noticeable. I saw that in the. I think. Oh, there you go. I think they're tying senior executive levels, not so much rank and file employees. I'm sure there are business guidelines. Oh, that's okay. I'm thinking that they're, so you got, Satya at the top up here and all this stuff, and you've got all of his, head muckety mucks down here, his toadies and whatever. I'm sure that report was ugly enough, and I mean, you saw what it said here. They didn't pull any punches. It wasn't like, oh, maybe they, I mean, this hurt. I mean, Microsoft's failure. I mean, they said failure to detect the compromise. Their failure to detect this was avoidable. I mean, I think the only thing they stopped at was, when they especially were talking about number 5 here, it was like the only thing that I think they could have, the only way this would have been worse is if they said they were malicious in the fact that they didn't want to update or report the truth, kind of like an Uber kind of thing, where it was like they knew that this was incorrect and they still lied to people. They said it in a nice way here, but this is exactly what they. So anyway, I think the cybersecurity goals or the security goals are probably more senior level people, like your CVPs or your VPs or your EVPs or something like that, and then you're going to have goals that come down to rank and file or to middle management, where it's like, okay, we need to enable these things, or we need to secure these things, and we need to more accurately hook up our monitoring and what have you. I'm sure that everybody at Microsoft has some sort of goal about being more secure and securing all the things, but I don't think it's as tied strongly to executive pay functions as it is elsewhere. So I think they said that in one of these articles that I had read about, saying, it's possible. ESG, yeah, so many companies adopt ESG metrics did only in the portion of executive pay, not long-term incentive plans, which is much more significant. So yeah, I think they're definitely targeting executives. So your SOC analyst is not going to have to worry about their pay or their bonus, if they get a bonus, being docked by, something like this. I think I do think the executives are like, okay, my teams are going to, fix this stuff. So they're going to be really motivated to want to get their rank and file to go, okay, stop putting dark mode and all this shit and actually fix the security stuff. Maybe some maybe the next 1 or 2 sprints are going to be like, yeah, maybe we don't spend story points on dark mode or, you know, fancy ass button or something like that. It's going to be fixing our tech debt, or all these lows and mediums that we got from, you know, the red team is now going to be, you know, bumped up a level of criticality or what have you. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes out of this, especially in the next few months. Board believes that Microsoft customers would benefit from its CEO and board of directors directly focusing on the company's security culture and developing and sharing publicly a plan with specific timelines to make fundamental security-focused reforms across the company and its full suite of products. The board recommends that Microsoft CEO holds senior officers accountable for delivery against this plan. Okay, so that would explain why, you know, this came up and this story came up here. It would also explain why I think Microsoft stock is going through the roof. Yeah, I mean, it's been higher, but it's how a breach works, right? Okay, so let me see, 29th, May 30th, it dropped from 429 to 414. So I don't know when this was posted, but I mean, it's been steadily going up for the past 6 months. I mean, it was at what, 380 in the first of the year, 367, and now it's up to 419. This is how breaches work, right? We're going to do better. We're sorry. We fucked up. We'll do better. Boom. Stock shoots through the roof. So, I mean, this 52-week high is what, 429? 52-week highs at 433.60. So, yeah. I own stock in Microsoft, by the way. I get a dividend from them, so it's really nice. But yeah, so year to date. So yeah, I mean, look at this. What, January 5th of this year, it was at 367. It's not exactly startup, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're taking a drubbing right now, but I think in the long term, it's only going to be better for them. Jesus Christ. Wow. Charged that up to 40% this morning. Yeah. So, interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Oh, yes. I got me some stonks. Yes, I have Microsoft stonks. I wished I had NVIDIA stonks because of, good Lord. I don't think they pay a dividend, though. I'm not sure. Let me see. They pay they did. Oh, no, they don't pay a dividend. I tend to like stuff with dividends. Hodl. That's right. Got the Hodl gang up in here. That's right. I don't have any GameStop stock. I'm not stupid like that. But yeah, NVIDIA's stupid. Yeah, NVIDIA's just gone stupid. Yeah, I mean, if you'd have bought it the first of the year, you're looking at 481, and it's now 250% better than what it was a year ago, or 6 months ago. A year ago, it was, yeah, languishing. Yeah, it's June of last year, it was at 391, and now it's at 4 times what it was. So, I wish. See, that's one of those things you wish you'd have gotten in on a stock split before it did split stock. Damn. Yeah, I'd imagine they're going to have to. I think. What was that? Yeah, who did a stock split? Was that Amazon, I think? Did like a 20-to-1 stock split? Yeah, 2022. It was a 20-to-1 stock split. That's right. That's right. Yeah, Qualcomm did one in the past as well. So on 7 June. Okay, so this Friday they're going to split. What do you know what the stock split's going to be there? Let me see. I bet it'll be probably a 10-to-1, because what they want to do is they want to get it down to where, you know, Joe average, you know, can make it a little more accessible. NVIDIA split. Is it going to be a 10-to-1 or a 5-to-1? Let me see. Pop-ups here. Yeah, looks like a 10-to-1 stock split. Yeah, 10 for 1. Yep. If you hold one NVIDIA share, you'll receive an extra 9 as part of the operation. In order to get extra shares, you must be a shareholder on the record date, which is June 6th. So you still got a chance. to get 10 shares of stock, but it'll be like $101 at that time. So, yeah, considering today's, you got 24 hours to find $1,200 to be able to do that. And of course, that's probably why NVIDIA's stock is surging, because people are buying it now because they know it's going to be 10x the cost. But yeah, everything will adjust. All this stuff will go down to like $40 a share or whatever, because that's the way they like to adjust these things. When I had Mandiant stock, I think it had done a stock split as well before it got bought by Google. And yeah, so 10 to 1, shit. Well, that means I should buy some NVIDIA stuff because it's only going to go up, right? I mean, it is the stock, it is the graphics card of artificial intelligence. So yeah, people will be buying by like mad. Yeah, they'll think it's low. Whoever has a couple of hundred shares of NVIDIA stock when it was $400 a share is going to be doing pretty good. So I'll have to keep an eye out on that. So I think I'll probably buy some on Monday or something like that. So we'll see what happens. But damn, that's okay. Costco's that way too. Costco stock. Costco has a fairly good dividend, which I like. So dividend yield. So I actually bought some Stellantis this week as well. STL. That's not it. Anyway, they have that's a GM stock. So, but yeah, so yeah, it's an ugly week, but I think in the long run it's going to be better for Microsoft, considering that they have Azure. This is going to be one of those things where what they do now is going to echo across all of their business lines. And I'm not, hoorah Microsoft, but they suggest, logging, audit log norms, digital identity standards and guidance. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. So big yellow taxi alerts because it purchased Microsoft's G5 Lite. Oh, okay, so they're talking about State Department, first victim to discover. State observed multiple security alerts from custom rule they'd created, known internally as Big Yellow Taxi, that analyzes data from a log known as mail items accessed. So they have a YAR rule set up to go and look at any kind of logs that come in. Chrysler stock, not GM. Yeah, what is it called? Stellantis. Stellantis, yeah, STLA. Sorry, STLA. Yeah, they were down today. I got a bit of a shaft, but they have a fairly fat dividend. That's not it. They have a dividend. I know they do. Ooh, buyback. Anyway, this is not Mad Money with Kramer or whatever the fuck his name is. So they had a. It's funny, they have YAR rules that have code names internally. They call it Big Yellow Taxi or whatever. So analyzes data from a log known as mail items access, which tracks access to Microsoft Exchange online mailboxes. State was able to access the log to set up these alerts because it had purchased G5 licensing, which includes enhanced logging abilities. That's like the E5 licensing that costs a fat ton of money because that was the only way you could get full logs and stuff. But the G5 obviously is probably the government version of that. On the mail items access logs was not accessible without the premium service. That was a thing that a lot of people, even like Frank McGovern on Twitter, was talking about. It's like, look, we need logs. The problem is you're making us pay a shit ton of money for logs. Now, whether that means we have to set up extra logging, and that's why it costs us extra, because we have to set up resources to collect those logs for you. That costs us additional, compute or what have you. That may be why they felt like it was a premium service. But we see that a lot with certain offerings from companies. It's like, okay, we'll set you up something for $19.95 per person. Okay, that sounds pretty cheap, per account, per person, or whatever. If you want security, if you want MFA, if you want, you know, OAuth authentication and stuff, it's going to be $24.99 per person per month or whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, that's a little too expensive. I'm not going to get security. And it's like, you know, and that's where you end up with a lot of those vendors. It's like they make you pay for extra security, which doesn't put, nobody's going to pay extra for, you know, security, right? So feels like they need to reverse that a little bit. Yeah. So let me see, is there any conclusions? Oh, they got a nice timeline in here. Let's see, facts, findings, recommendations. Here we go. If Microsoft had not paused manual rotation of keys, if it had completed the migration of its MSA environment to rotate automatically, if had put in place a technical or other control to generate errors for aging keys, the 2016 MSA key would not have been valid in 2023. Further, if Microsoft had not made the error of allowing consumer keys to authenticate to enterprise customer data, or alternatively, if it had detected and addressed this flaw, the scope of the intrusion would have been far narrower and would have not impacted the State Department, Commerce Department, or any other enterprise customers. Wow, there's a lot of ifs here. If Microsoft had deployed alerting, or prevention to detect forged tokens that do not conform to own token generation algorithms, this incident likely would have also been stopped or detected by Microsoft all on its own. Even after all this, if Microsoft had other security controls in place for its digital identity systems, such as the board finds other CSPs had in place at the time, cloud service providers, the intrusion vector would have been blocked or detected. Finally, State alerted Microsoft to the intrusion. Microsoft did not have logs or other forensic data to determine how or when Storm 558 had stolen the key. So there's a lack of logging in that place, or that case, not place, case. The decision to completely stop signing of keys after a large cloud outage. Oh, okay, so wow, it's interesting how one thing affected another. So they had a cloud outage in 2021. I don't know about that. Does anybody know anything about that? To completely, yeah. So they had a signing of keys, but it caused a cloud outage. My guess is they rotated a key that broke a bunch of shit, right? And in the aftermath, they were like, oh, manually rotating signing keys is not a good idea. It's not a good practice. We probably should stop it. Well, now it leads to other things. That's a shame. There's also AWS recently slashing their employee count, which is fairly scary. We'll see where that leads with security. Yeah, I don't know about what, I don't know if AWS slashed security people in their employee count. I don't know if it was, who all was hit on that. I mean, what was the Amazon outage? Hey, Age, how you doing? I think Mika is, so Mika's over on the YouTube side of chat here. So it says there was also AWS recently slashing their employee count, which is fairly scary. We'll see where that leads with security. I don't know if there was a major Amazon outage recently. Oh, lightning strike caused an EC2 outage. Usually it's squirrels that cause internet outages, but it's more. Some customers at EC2 cloud computing were offline for 4 hours Wednesday night after an electrical storm damaged power equipment at one of the data centers. 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, Pacific time. So I don't know if that's the one you're talking about. I do know that a lot of organizations were laying people off. Oh, a couple of big outages in 2021. I do remember something in 2021 where there was like a US East 1 outage, and the problem was the status page was also in US East 1, so people couldn't get to the status page to figure out what was exactly wrong. So AWS 2021 outage. Service event in, US East 1. Yeah, December 10th. 7:30 automated activity to scale capacity of one of the servers hosted in the main AWS triggered an unexpected behavior from a large number of clients in the internal network, resulting in a surge of connection activity that overwhelmed the network devices between the internal network and the main AWS, resulting in delays for communication between these networks. So yeah, there's This was one of them. I remember that one happening. Facebook had one too, and the problem was they couldn't get into their buildings because they managed all the building control systems in their own data center, and they ended up locking themselves out of those things. So I seem to remember that one being kind of funny. Facebook outage, locked out of buildings. Yeah. Platform is down due to an apparent issue with DNS servers. That means missing out on untold millions of dollars in revenue. The company was down 5% in shares. They also struggle making phone calls from work-issued cell phones. They can't access conference rooms that are also on the company computer system, and their internal communications platform was down. I mean, it was a snow day for the company. Yeah. Yeesh. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, there was that. I don't think that one was it, but it was like, yeah, Facebook employees were locked out of buildings, couldn't access, a widespread outage. Yeah, buildings and conference rooms amid a massive outage. So yeah, a lot of things happened in 2021. One recently, but it was probably 6 months ago, US East 1 was down, which took most AWS services and regions with them as well. Yeah, I didn't know about that one. Huh. All internal systems are down too. Tells me employees are communicating amongst each other by text and Outlook email. Yeah, a lot of services depend on US East 1, Netflix, a lot of orgs are in US East 1. Nothing can break through a window fix. That's 100% true there, MSEC. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can fix it later, unless that summons the attack drones or the Terminators to take over. I mean, it happens with every big organization. You want to integrate, you want to put everything under one banner, one umbrella, and then you do something like the story. They said they stopped rotating the keys in 2021, and that meant they may have missed a couple keys that were still valid, like the 2016 MSA key would have been invalidated potentially if they'd been, so there'll have to be some kind of key escrow, or there'll have to be some kind of way of keeping track of all of the MSA keys, or all the keys, the signing keys that they need. Hey, Digital Warhead, thank you so much for subscribing, Digital Warhead. I appreciate the. Oh man. Okay. Yeah, there should have been a notification. Let me double check that. Hey. Put the notifications at the top. That way you can be seen if you pop up some. Oh, good. That's awesome. Thank you, Digital Word. Yes, I wanted to make sure that everybody could see when people support the show or what have you. So, yes, I thank all of our supporters. Oh, by the way, I haven't mentioned in a few days, Farming Tacos and the Shy Hat. I think they probably mean the shit, but they said the Shy Hat, which is funny. I give them props for their handle there. They both followed us in the last 5 to 7 days, so I appreciate them for that. So, all right, Age of Music, we'll keep it PG. Sometimes I have to look at the handles because sometimes they are a play on words, but this one was the Shy Hat, and I'm like, the Shy Hat, the Shy Hat, the Shy Hat, the Shat, the Shat. Yeah. I think he rated this Shy Hat last week. Oh, okay. That's cool. Okay. Yeah. So great report. Definitely want to look at that and maybe take to heart some of the things that Microsoft isn't doing and, try to be better than Microsoft. Oh, the Linux Basics class. Okay. Good catch there, Digital Warhead. Yeah. Let's see. The good, the bad, and the ugly in cybersecurity. What's the good? Because the only thing we have that's good is somebody's arrested or a botnet's taken down. It's usually the only good stuff we ever hear, because it's not really good because the botnets get taken down. They just get taken over by someone else, or they pivot faster than can be done, and they're automatically back up in a couple days. The bad proof of concept exploit released for critical RCE flaw in Fortinet's SIM appliances. 2024-23-108. Oh, thank you, Feedly. Oh, shit. Also, for anyone in the Puget Sound area, CISA East meetings tomorrow, all are welcome. Yes, go make sure my baby stays, running and stuff. I think they moved from East Seattle to the Green Lake area, which is technically north of Seattle. It's not so much east anymore, but I understand why. The organizers don't live in Snoqualmie like I used to do. So they don't want to go all the way out to Bellevue or what have you all the time. So, but it's good because it allows people who are in Seattle to, oh, it's a Black Lodge. Okay, Black Lodge is a great hacker space. So that's fantastic. Black Lodge Research. I'm glad they're opening that back up for folks. So it's a nice little area, still hacking. They haven't updated their site in a little bit, but it's a good place. There's several eateries next door. Last time I was there, they're in this industrial park off of 65th. And so just to give you an idea, they're in Redmond next to another business that we may or may not have just talked about for the last 30 minutes. So here's Microsoft Building 83, the Commons, where B-Side Seattle got done. Oh, good. I'm glad one of the members bought a membership to BLR. That's awesome. So yeah, here's Microsoft HQ and Marymore Park, and yeah, so it's nice. That's good. I would have bought one too. I didn't have a problem. I would have bought a membership in a heartbeat. Yeah, so it's good. That's good. Being a key member allows them to gain access to that, so it's nice. So anyway, yeah, go if you're in the Puget Sound area, or maybe this will drive you to creating your own, whether it be online or what have you. So, what was the other thing? I don't know if we talked about this, but Linux. So, as if it isn't scary enough, Linux.org has become what's called a CNA, and it's not a certified nursing assistant or anything like that. They have made it possible for them to make their own and issue their own CVEs. And there was a discussion about this, about how they're trying to solve the tracking they're issuing CVEs for bugs. Not just security issues, but like bugs inside the Linux kernel. Yeah, it's not a certified nursing assistant. That's not true. Where is it? There. See, numbering status. Here you go. So they can now issue CVEs, just like because MITRE's having some issues with some of the backlog. I heard that they've now got some additional help where they're going to be able to take a lot of that back over, like they used to. But they're going to be able, so they've issued a number of bugs or CVEs for bugs that are in the system. So Linux CVEs. They've issued a number of, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, so as you can see, they've issued in 2024 447 issues. So now you've got like in the Linux kernel, following vulnerabilities have been resolved for 2 locking issues with thermal zone bugging. So they've, God damn, it's just ugly as shit. So they're, God, it's just horrendous. They don't even have CVE scores for these things, but they've got Linux kernel vulnerabilities out the ass right now, 200 plus that they've issued in the past, few weeks for memory issues or use after free bugs or, here's one, use after free and TCP TWSK unique with nice analysis since commit. So they're issuing these to, I don't know why they're doing that, but they're flooding the market with CVEs that now it's hard enough to figure out what's actually legit and what needs to be patched, but now it's this, right? And it's confusing as shit, because it's like, do we care about these? Do we not care about these? You know, I think there was one in the news just recently about net filter, LPE, net filter. Yeah, out of bounds access in net filter and NF table. So no, that's not it, you asshole. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, privilege escalation proof of concept had been published that according to a bug hunter, and I think it was CISA has added it to their KEV list, which is known exploited vulnerabilities. It's a 7.8 out of 10. It's a local privilege escalation, and it can, you know, if you run your environment where you have privilege separation, meaning multiple users, or, you know, your Apache or whatever is running on, you know, www user instead of root, this can be a problem. It's a double free bug, right? So as you've seen, there's a ton of, God damn, it's fucking. So yeah, these were published in 2024. Let me see, May, I think. Yeah, May has a ton of them. And you can just go through and look at all the bugs inside of your kernel. To be honest, it makes me want to go in and make a custom kernel, because I don't need the Marvell Octeon TX2 AF drivers. So, you know, rip that shit out, because I don't need this. But the EPSS scores on these, which I think it stands for like how easy it is to exploit. Yeah, exploit prediction scoring system. They're like 0.05%. It's like, what's the point, right? I mean, some of these have CVSS scores. Here's a 5.5. But this is going to cause a lot of people to work overtime, especially if you're a kernel fan. The fact that they have, what, 400 and something just in this month alone, they're not done. So it's like they've taken all their tech debt and they've made a CVE number for them. And I'm not exactly sure why yet. But yeah, it's going to be scary to try to figure out how we're going to handle this. And some of them don't have a fix, or some of them can't be fixed, or yeah, it's just hot garbage. So CVE numbering authority, okay, is a trusted organization authorized to assign unique identifiers, CVE IDs, to security vulnerabilities with a particular scope. Now, having said what I just said previously, this could be a good thing. I mean, it's laying bare all of the problems that are in the Linux kernel, right? We saw what? How many vulnerabilities did we see here? I mean, these were all dropped on May 30th, right? May 30th, and there's at least 9 pages, 222 vulnerabilities found. So many users be added to prevent null pointer dereferencing later in the code to fix this issue. So they have, these should be checked. So they're actually supplying solutions, but I don't know if this could give you the opportunity, if you wanted to get your name on a CVE, to go fix something in the Linux kernel. Like, hey, you should fix this issue. You need to check the value of SPI bus and SPI init, int iter or whatever. If you want some notoriety, you could say, hey, I fixed these 4 CVEs, Hey, Cooper T, thank you for, supporting us, and thank you for joining here. We're talking about how Linux published a shit ton of CVEs in the last month. So, yeah, here's a Broadcom driver that has some kind of issue as well. In some ways, they're calling out third parties. Use after free bug in some Broadcom driver. Can't fix that necessarily unless you've got some kind of, low-level networking knowledge, and that you can, reverse engineer the patch and see how you can fix that. But yeah, there's a ton of things. So Sorry, I thought I had somebody in my room with me here. So, anybody have anything else? Oh, thanks, Cooper T. You didn't have to switch over. I'm getting used to looking at both chat channels. So thank you for coming over to the dark side. But yeah, so it's a ton of shit. I like better. Oh, okay. I don't hate the YouTube. I think it has less functionality in it than the Twitch chat. I just find that it's easier to simulcast across various places. Plus, I'm really enjoying my new lav mic that I've been using instead of my what I've been using for a few years now. So I've had my little carryoid mic that I've been using, and I switched over to this Shure mic system. It's actually working okay. I need to dial it in a little bit and make it a little more. It probably wouldn't, if I was using the old mic, it probably wouldn't pick up as much, jet noise, but it is what it is. I'm going to be probably using this at finding live streams on YouTube isn't very good. Hey, fix it. Well, yeah, go to sleep, fix it. Appreciate you. I saw you. You were the top on the list on the InfoSec streams last night. I was like, yeah, you were on the list. Oh, yeah, GoPro's on. Yep, there you are. So, good site if you want to keep track of people. It's not a full and complete list, but if you're interested, you can go and check out all the folks that are online for that. Yeah, there's a ton of folks that talk about various InfoSec and scares. Al Hazard, Security Live, Age of Entropy. MSec is on here as well. GAR7. Yep, there's MSec. Ding, MSec. A lot of folks on here that L Pen Tester. I think we've rated L Pen Tester before. Savitar, yeah. That's okay, MSec. It's all good. You do when you can. Probably some say I'm on too much, MSec. So I've got to. And you got that kind of thing. Fix it is Fix It's on there quite a bit. I actually find myself way at the bottom, and I was like, wow, I thought I streamed more than some folks, but yeah. I'm only on because I'm only second to the top because I'm actually online right now. But yeah, if you find somebody else that is streaming that isn't on this list, go check them out. So I think I'm gonna go. I'm looking for more interviews. If you have an idea for a legitimate interview, I'm actually trying to talk to Mick Douglas about getting on talking about Concierge, which is the AI system that he's building for whatever he's using it for. I've used it for uploading PDFs for role-playing games and searching for things in there. It works actually pretty good. But he's made a lot of changes to it, so I'm going to see about getting him and his head developer on in the next month or so. I'm definitely looking for more people to interview. Similar to how we did with Tanya, with Stuart Miller from Hampton North, all kinds of folks. So our friends Danny and Lizzie about tunnel vision, anything we talk about, I'm good at that. And, I'd love to have maybe Fix It on to talk about some stuff too. Maybe we can do some kind of cross collaboration with MSec and Fix It, and maybe we can have a stream with streamers or something like that, like we used to do podcasts with podcasters at DerbyCon. Maybe we could get together and do something like that. That might be fun to do. Would love to pick y'all's brains about your process and topics that you're good with. We'd have to do it a little earlier for Fix It because I want to make sure that she can get some sleepy time in, because I don't want her to lose sleep and have to do it at this time of day. So, but yeah, so I think we'll go raid GoPro. So GoPro slow yo. I know Fix It, but yeah, you shouldn't be on at 2 a.m. You can, we can do it like 4 or 5 hours earlier. That way everybody has a chance to at least, have some dinner and, you can go to bed. So anyway, I'm going to go. I'll see you all on Friday. Have a good rest of your week. Take care of yourselves. As we're fond of saying, you're the only you have. And we'll see you all soon. Bye, everybody. Enjoy GoPro. Tell him I said hey.